A historic decision and emotional reactions. A jury finds D.C. police officer Terence Sutton guilty of murder, conspiracy, and obstruction. That verdict coming down roughly an hour ago. Prosecutors say Sutton chased a D.C. man, Karon Hylton Brown, who was on a moped right into oncoming traffic, and Brown was hit and killed by a car. Our Bruce LeShan has been following this case for months now. And Bruce, you've been talking to people outside the courthouse about this verdict, and how are they reacting tonight?
Shock, amazement. I mean, this is remarkable. It's unprecedented. It's historic. A D.C. cop found guilty of second-degree murder. There was a chaotic scene both up in the courtroom and out here on the sidewalk next to the courthouse. Take a listen.
Yeah! Yes! Hold them accountable! Hold them accountable! Stop killing us!
Now that is the reaction of Nene Taylor, who is with Harriet's Wildest Dreams. She's a longtime black civil rights activist, former head of DC BLM, Black Lives Matter. Karon Hylton, the mother of Karon Hylton Brown, who was chased out into traffic and hit and killed, was in the courtroom. She began screaming as the verdict was announced. She said, "You bloody something, you're done, you're finished." The marshals began converging on her. A friend of hers tried to push her out of the courtroom. The marshals ended up arresting her, charging her with assault on a marshal. The mother of Karon Hylton Brown is, we understand, going to spend the night in jail and will go before a judge herself tomorrow. But again, back to this verdict. Officer Terence Sutton had been accused of chasing Karon Hylton Brown for 3.5 long minutes down blind alleys, the wrong way, down one-way streets, and eventually out into traffic where Karon Hylton Brown was hit and killed by a scion that had no idea he was there. The prosecutors allege that was in violation of MPD general orders, and the jurors, after 5 days of deliberation, agreed, finding Officer Sutton of guilty of second-degree murder, also guilty of conspiracy and obstruction of justice for covering up what he had done. His supervisor, Lieutenant Andrew Zabavsky, also found guilty of conspiracy and obstruction of justice, again, for covering this up right from the start, right after it happened, October 23rd, 2020. There were days of protests, but today a lot of activists feeling like they have been vindicated.
When I went in, I double-checked and
With me?
With you, yes. I was like, is it guilty? You said yes, all charges. I was shocked. I was more so shocked than anything. Yet, at that moment, a joy came over me for accountability. Accountability, not justice.
At the end of the day, there's no winners. Our community lost a young man. He died. Karen will not be able to bring her son home, even with a guilty verdict.
The U.S. Attorney's Office asked for the judge to order Officer Terence Sutton set back, asked him to order him hauled off to jail after this conviction of second-degree murder. The judge refused to do that, hasn't set a sentencing date yet, but Sutton will go home, Zabavsky will go home to their families for Christmas and face sentencing up to 40 years for second-degree murder. Lorenzo, back to you.
Really like what Jay Brown said there. You know, there are no winners here. You're talking about a family who lost their loved one and a little girl who has to grow up without her father now. Bruce LeShan, thank you so much. And to see all of the updates on this story in one place, head on over to WUSA9.com or download our free WUSA9 app.